Vice President Kamala Harris, our next president and commander-in-chief,
Wait a minute.
and governor.
Wait a minute. Live. She's waiting on you. When I say she, they're going to be listening from DC. Are we live? There you go, baby.
And Governor Tim Walz, we thank you for being here tonight. I can see better now. Okay. High Desert leaders, elected officials, business owners, candidates, organizations, and community members. Our High Desert communities are Adelanto, Apple Valley, Barstow, Hallandale, Hesperia, Oro Grande, Pinion Hills, Phelan, Yermo, and of course, the city of Victorville. As my husband said in the speech from Michelle Obama, she said at the Democratic National Convention in Chicago, said, do something. So tonight, we placed the High Desert on the map. The first time in California to do something. We will be hearing about the Democratic National Convention, California Party Secretary, and the Veterans Caucus Chair. Additional information from Project 2025, and most importantly, supporting Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. So, before we begin, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation. The Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Howard Mostyn Brown, Navy veteran, Victor Valley Democratic Club Vice Chair.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Remain standing. Invocation will be done by Pastor Rafael Porres.
Please bow your head, please. Heavenly Father, thank you for this opportunity to this wonderful evening. You have this fellowship together. We request you bless the food. We bless every person here in this location. We request this in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Please be seated.
Before I forget, the reason why we don't have a mic, again, my PTSD and I forgot to
He's so thankful. So tonight we have, and he's on his way, Juan Carrillo. Leslie Irving came in, but we do have Maria Okpara from the Apple Valley Unified School District. Miss Diana Love, California Democratic Party Secretary. Basil Kimbrew, California Democratic Party Veterans Caucus Chair. Seda I'm sorry, Seda, I was just Seda, our California Democratic Party Regional Director 11. So, as candidates here in our local area, Derek Marshall, Congressional. Kip Mueller. Ricardo Ortega. Stefana Evans. LaCarrie Williams from Apple Valley. Chris Ochoa, Hysteria. Valentin Godina, Victorville. Right. I'd also like to thank our business owners. If you're a business owner, do the wave.
All right.
Organizations. Here we go. On my list. I'll find it. Okay. I'll have to ad-lib it. We have Give Her a Chance. Wave. Give her a chance. Wave. Okay. Millionaire Mind Kids. The Rock.
Yay!
NCNW.
Yay!
AKAs.
Alright!
The Deltas.
Yay!
High Desert Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Are the Lions here yet? BCC, Visionaries. Let's see, who else? Am I missing anybody? No, I think I got everybody. Okay. So, at this time, I would like to say thank you to the Pancho Villas and their crew members here. Oscar Osorio, Leo Alvarado, Jaime Castaneda, and Chef Jose Luis. Bartender, Gregorio. Woo, that was hard. Woo! So, now that we have our benediction, our invocation, we'll start from this end. Go ahead and have yourself appetizers. To welcome Miss Diana Love, Secretary of the California Democratic Party. She will be sharing with us an update from the Democratic National Convention 2024. Miss Diana Love.
Good evening, Democrats. How are you? Good. Are you fired up? Yeah! We got to do something. Yeah! We got to get our Vice President elected and our Governor Walz elected. But I want to share a couple of things with you. But first, before I get started, I'm going to come out a little bit, and I just wanted to take a moment for all of us to clap and say thank you to our hosts and hostesses, the Kimbrews, Lizet. And I want you all to know that I know we're all fired up, we're all joyful and anxious, but I feel like the Vice President is with me everywhere I go. And especially since I'm wearing this, okay? Okay, so the little girl is me. I'm the shorter one, she's the taller one, okay? And I say that to say that she's always whispering to me. And what she's saying to me is that, Diana, we're not going back. Is that right?
We're not going
say it
back.
again, we're not going back. We're not going back. So I want to give you just a synopsis, a brief overview of what the DNC convention was like. Is anyone here that went? No? Okay. I'm sure a lot of you saw it on television. Okay. Well, there's a lot you didn't see. Okay. So I've got some props here just to keep me on task here. So I want to start out by telling you how I got there. I didn't get on an airplane. I got on Amtrak. And I went across the country. It took me 2.5 days. But it was fantastic to go across and see Colorado, New Mexico. And there's a Las Vegas, New Mexico. Did you know that? So, and I went coach. Won't do that again. Okay? I need a roomette. Okay? I need a roomette. So I want to just tell you what it was like to be at convention. There were a lot of different things. We started out on, even though convention started on Monday, we started on a Sunday. And we had church services, and then we went to the Navy Pier for a welcome reception. We danced, and we partied on the Mississippi River, okay? So I Googled just to give you a synopsis about how many people there were there. The United Center holds 23,000 people, and all 23,000 of them were at the United Center every night, okay? And they stayed the entire time. We didn't get out of there till like 11:30 at night, every night. And then we had to take buses to go back to the hotel, okay? So the way our day started is you have a delegate breakfast. You had to be there between 7 and 10 o'clock a.m. to get your credential. And you didn't get just one credential for the whole convention. You had to get a credential every day, or you lose it, and it would go to the next person on the waiting list, okay? But then you had to be at the McCormick place to go to the caucuses and the councils. And at the breakfast, we had speakers we had everybody. We had Jasmine Crockett, we had Nancy Pelosi. I mean, there was every governor, there was everybody that spoke at the breakfast. And so again, back to going to the McCormick place, you got to get on buses. So just visualize a few thousand people in line to get on a bus to take you to the United Center so that you can listen to the caucuses and the councils. And they met every other day, but it was a different agenda. Mark Kelly spoke. This is what you didn't get to see, the caucuses and the councils. We had Mark Kelly, we had Governor Walz's wife, we had John Legend, we had just all the legislators came through. A lot of the Congress people were there. Every TV reporter that you watch on every channel of the TV, they were all there. And in between all of this, they're doing interviews. They're grabbing you off the floor to do an interview, and everybody's taking pictures with everybody because they wanted to see everybody. So you got all this stuff going on all day long, and then the gavel comes down at 5:30, okay? So the councils and the caucuses end at 3:15. So now you got to get on a bus to go over to the United Center. This is where all of you saw the presentation, okay? So you go there, you get to see everybody. Of course, we got to see Miss Patti LaBelle. Yeah. And we got to see Pink. Yeah. And Stevie Wonder, okay? And also what you probably didn't see was there was an orchestra there. So all that music that you heard was coming from an orchestra. A lot of them were singing. Joy Reid was there. I mean, everybody you can possibly think of was there, okay? So as the days go on, we went to a feminist tea. We all had panels to go to. We had the Black Caucus. They had meetups. There were outside hospitality events going on while all of these things are going on. So after the gavel is gone and 11:30, that's when you go out and party. That's when people are going out to party, okay? So till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, and then you got to be back up at 7 because you got to go get your credential. Now this happened day after day after day because there's 4 days, okay? And we are the home state, so we're sitting in front, okay? So and then we had theme days. If you notice, some days we were wearing white. That was for suffrage. Some days we were wearing pink. There were different days had different themes for different things, and there was just so much that went on and we were all joyous. We were very, very joyous and happy, and they were selling everything. People were dressed up. I can't even tell you how folks were dressed up. There were hats that were blinging. They even gave us. We had a band and they had control over it, and they lit it up. At certain times, we do certain things. And then there was a lady who had bags of these, which has Kamala's name on it, that she gave out. So there was T-shirts you could buy, there was hats, there was everything that you can think of that you could do. and talk to. But now, as the days went on, we got tired, okay? Because there's a lot of walking. There's a lot of walking. It's like walking here to home. There's a lot of walking. So a lot of things I missed because I needed to catch up on some sleep, okay? So we had a California bash. I did manage to get to that because the California Democratic Party put it on. So Tony was there. John Legend was there. The gentleman who plays in Blackish, what's his name? Anthony Anderson, he was there. So all these folks are right next to you. And people are trying to take pictures of everybody. I mean, it was just a lot. And for us that were there, I didn't really get to hear a whole lot of the speakers because of the noise factor. So when I went back to the room and turned on the news is when I heard what was being said because there was so much going on. But as the days went on, when we got to the third day, we all figured out in the California staff and all of us that we need to get there earlier and earlier each day because it was harder and harder to get in because of so many people. I mean, there was Secret Service everywhere because now you got Bill Clinton, you got Michelle Obama and Barack Obama, you got Hillary. So all of them got Secret Service. So we had to get there earlier and earlier to get a seat because it was just, so by the last day, we were there at noon, okay? Because your seats weren't saved. You had to get there and be there. And I'm in the front, and you must have 50,000 cameras. That's why I was on TV so much. And there's cameras up here in the rafters. There's something up in the ceiling. There's a lot of things that you really didn't see. There's a lot of auditions that were going on, a lot of rehearsals that were going on that you didn't see. Mark Kelly was there. The astronaut, he was there. The governor's wife, she was there. I mean, it was just a lot. But it was fun. We had fun. We enjoyed ourselves, and we were pleasant. We did not have any interruptions with protesters. They were far away. They were there, but they were far away, and we didn't see them. Security was off the chain, okay? They had the dogs that sniffed the buses. I mean, we were really protected, and we tried to stay together in pairs, you know, so that we would have fun together, but yet be safe together. So there was a lot of, it was just a lot of good feeling of joy. And we must get our vice president elected. There's no doubt about that. We just have to find ways to do it and talk to people and to keep the momentum going. So with that, I just wanted to express and just to share. I brought back some things, if you nothing you really need to see, but it was a lot of things that were given away. And but it was, if you get an opportunity, go to the inaugural. But you better start now, because you need a ticket. Okay, you need a ticket to get in, to get there. Hotels are filling up as we speak. Okay, plane fares are filling up as we speak. I think I'm going on the train again. Because not coach. But from what I understand, I called Amtrak, just to let you know, and I found out that I was really very close to DC. Because once you get to Chicago, where I went, you change trains and you have another 14 hours and you're in DC. So I know the route, and so I'm ready. I'm fired up. Woo! We're not going back, right? That's right, not going back. Not going back. Not going back. We're not going back. We're not going back. Going back. Thank you all so much. You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay.
My wife wants to know where you got your T-shirt from.
Convention.
Oh, at the convention?
Uh-huh.
You don't know the vendor?
No, it wasn't a venue. They were giving them away.
Oh, okay.
They were on the floor giving them away.
Somebody's probably selling them.
somebody told me something about.
Organization that will give us an insight of the Project 2025. Please welcome Janice Presley, Chair, and Laverne Scriven, co-presenter.
Good evening, everyone. So for those of you that I do not know, my name is Janice Presley. I live in Apple Valley. And for tonight's purposes, I'm just a community volunteer. Even though I'm a part of several organizations, tonight's presentation is definitely nonpartisan. So I wanted to let you all know on your tables, all of you have a copy of my presentation. So it's on the middle of the table. So if you would take one, if you want to follow along, that would be great. The first slide that you will see tonight is a statement that says, "Our people perish for a lack of knowledge." And if you know the Bible or you're a biblical scholar, you know that that comes from Hosea 4:6. And the reason that that is important today as well as every day is that we need to understand that we have to get the knowledge. And the way to get the knowledge is by reading, by studying, and all of those kind of things. So what I want to do now is take you all back a little bit in history. If you remember your history lessons from either elementary school or high school, we know the President of the United States back in 1863, his name was President Lincoln. And if you know anything about President Lincoln, one of the things that he was most known for was the Emancipation Proclamation, as well as what we know now is the beginnings of the slaves being freed. Everybody know that already, right? Okay. So President Lincoln was a one-term president, and during the beginning of his second term, one of the things that happened is that he was assassinated. And the reason that he was assassinated was because of the actual stance he took on slavery, because he felt like slavery was wrong. And so because he lost his life after that, we know that there were a lot of people in the United States that were not very happy with the fact that he basically freed the slaves. And one of the things that they did to kind of take us back, as the speaker before me just said, they introduced something called the Jim Crow laws. Anybody ever heard about the Jim Crow laws? Okay. So when you think about the Jim Crow laws, it was basically an opportunity for creating separatism, such that black people stayed on one side and white people stayed on the other side. That also meant that we could not go to school together, restrooms were separate, any kind of public spaces were actually very separate. What then happened is that in terms of voting, there were things called poll taxes. So if there was a person who could not pay the poll tax, what did that mean? They could not vote. In some cases, people stood in long lines, they were discriminated against, they were told that, you know, a variety of different things that would prohibit them from actually voting. So even though all of the things that happened in the United States back then, on the other side of the world, over in Germany, there was something that happened with the Nazis, okay? Their leader at the time was a person named Adolf Hitler. And one of the things that Adolf Hitler and some of the people in his regime decided was that they thought that what was going on in the United States with the Jim Crow laws was something that they admired. They admired those laws so much that they basically decided to take those laws as a basis to create what we know as the Nuremberg laws. What's interesting about that is that they thought that we as Americans, or the people who were practicing white supremacy, were people who didn't take it far enough. And so what we ended up having was the Holocaust. So with the Holocaust, there were over 6 million people who actually lost their lives, either in concentration camps, they were murdered, women were raped, that people were separated from their families. But again, 6 million people actually lost their lives. So I'm sure some of you are asking, so what does this have to do with Project 2025? Well, I will tell you, it has everything to do with Project 2025. And the reason that it has something to do with Project 2025 is because the people who started what we now know as the Heritage Foundation were actually descendants of people from Germany. They were descendants of the people who actually did these atrocities to the Jews over in Germany. The other thing that happened also in 1909 was we had an organization called the NAACP. The NAACP unfortunately spent decades trying to fight against the Jim Crow laws to make sure that black people had the opportunity to vote and that they had an opportunity to live as equals in the United States. You all also are probably familiar with the case, the Brown versus the Board of Education. That was another thing that happened back in the 60s. So think about 1909 to the 60s, the amount of time it took, over 50 years, for us to finally get an opportunity for black children and white children to go to school together and for people to not be discriminated against. There's also something that happened in the 60s, which was the Voter Rights Act, that also happened, that basically gave people a right to vote. So in the presentation, you'll see a few of the amendments. I'm not gonna go through that in essence of time, but what I really wanna talk about right now is the Heritage Foundation. There were 3 men who actually founded the Heritage Foundation. One of them is Paul Weyrich, another one is Edward Faulkner, and then Joseph Coors. What's really important about these 3 gentlemen is that, again, all 3 of them have descendants that came from Germany, okay? So their ancestors, their forefathers were part of the Nazi regime, and those people were, so that's where they got their ideals from. So anybody that thinks about growing up in a particular community, wherever you grow up, you bring some of your traditions from you, how you grew up, the people that you've been around, etc. And for some people, it's really difficult for them to break away from the way they grew up. So like, I'll just give you a quick example. I grew up in the South in Atlanta, Georgia, and my family ate grits. We eat sugar on grits. And then I meet other people that's like, oh my God, that's the most disgusting thing. Well, it's hard for me to get away from sugar on grits. Why? Because that's something that I've grown up with. The same, right? But again, everybody doesn't eat sugar on grits, but that's just a thing, just an example of some of the things that you grow up. So the things that you grow up with, you continue to do that in your own personal and your professional life. One of the things about Joseph Coors is that Joseph Coors is the grandson of the guy who started, Adolf Coors, who started the Coors Brewing Company. So anybody that knows about Coors beer, that was his grandfather, and he was basically a rich man. And one of the things that he did is he took his earnings and actually gave $300,000 to the Heritage Foundation to actually get them started. So he provided the initial $250,000 for seed funding, and each year that he was alive, he actually donated $300,000 to the cause. When you think about Edwin Führer, one of the things that he did is he actually did his PhD on the policies and procedures needed for a very conservative policies and procedures in the Republican Party. The other thing that I want to let you know is that in 1973, when the Heritage Foundation started, the person who was in the presidency at that time was named Ronald Reagan. I'm sure most of you who live in California, you know who Ronald Reagan is. But did you know that Ronald Reagan was basically influenced by the very first mandate on leadership that was produced by the Heritage Foundation? That particular document, over about 60% of the 2,000 policies that Ronald Reagan actually had during his administration actually came from the Heritage Foundation, okay? So a lot of the things that he did during his presidency were directly influenced by the 3 men that I talked about, who had ties to white supremacy, who had ties to Nazism. They basically brought their ideas, their traditions, their goals, or whatever to build conservative politics. Then when the senior President Bush, also President Clinton, and then George Bush Jr. got in office, the Heritage Foundation continued to actually influence them with some of their policies. So if you remember, the big thing when Clinton was president was really about welfare reform, that you can't be on welfare for 2 years and all of those things. All of those policies and things that they did, they came from where? The Heritage Foundation. The Heritage Foundation, again, is the persons or the group of people who've created what we now know as Project 2025. And during the Obama administration, who can tell me what the one thing that they were completely against?
Affordable care.
Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. And so during that time, one of the founders of the Heritage Foundation, which is one of the people who worked at the Heritage Foundation, his name was Jim Schultz. He actually became a part of the Tea Party. So he was one of the original organizers of the Tea Party. He took over as president of the Heritage Foundation, again, because they were trying to stop Obamacare, stop the Affordable Care Act, and really set themselves up for a new presidency after Obama, which, as we know now, former President Trump took over. The things that I want to tell you about President Trump, if you did not know, his family heirs from Austria, and so do several of his wives. It's already been said that his father was a member of the KKK, but did you know that President Trump's family was from Germany? Why is that important? So if you hear him talking about Nazism and all of that, that is the fundamental reason why we have to be educated as a people on what's going on in Project 2025 and how that's going to affect each of us now and in the future. Also, as part of the slides that you have, one of the quotes, and the first one is on page XIII of the actual Project 2025. It basically says that if a Republican is put in office on January the 20th at 12 noon, everything is going to fall under Project 2025. If you ask President Trump, is this his policy or his procedure, he is going to tell you no. He's going to say, oh, that's just something. However, when he was the president 4 years ago, 64% of his policies came from the mandate from leadership and a lot of the things that were happening from the Heritage Foundation. So they have already influenced him as a leader in the past. So what's to stop them from influencing him as a leader in the future? The other thing that I will tell you, and I'm going to close, that if you want to hide something from black people, you put it in a book. And that's exactly what the Heritage, in a book. And that's exactly what the Heritage Foundation has done. They've created a 999-page document that the average person will not read. The average person will get bored after the first couple of pages. And that is where they have laid out the blueprint for Project 2025. I would beg to say that this organization still has momentum. And the reason that I say that is just on September the 4th of this year, they actually filed suit against Joe Biden. And the suit against, not against Joe Biden, but they filed suit against 7 of the of our national organizations, the FBI, the CIA, the Department of Homeland Security, etc. It's in the slides. And the reason that they did that is because they are saying that the Biden family actually was given briefings about what was going to happen with Hunter during the investigation. So the Heritage Foundation is alive. They're doing all kinds of things to actually create havoc in our democracy. And so what Laverne is going to do is really talk to you in detail about what's happening with Project 2025, how Project 2025 not only affects black people, but it affects all people in our community, especially those of us that are all about democracy. So Laverne, I will turn it over to you. Thank you.
All right. No, they didn't. Good afternoon or good evening, everyone. Can everyone hear me? I have a loud voice, okay? What I'm going to start with is this. Project 47. That's Trump's new project to distance himself from Project 2025. But more aggressively addresses the Department of Justice, which would be weaponized to get revenge against President Biden. That's his first agenda. Even though President Biden hasn't done anything to him, he's going after him for offenses, real or imagined. Now, in Project 47, their statement says, Project 47 would actually establish the next Republican president as a dictator who can hire and fire at will, eliminate agencies at will, and do whatever he wants. And we see that already happening already, okay? So the first one, we're going to talk about the plan to weaken and eliminate the Department of Education. How well? Can't hear you. Okay. You can't hear me? Okay. Speak up. All right. No one? All right, I'm going to holler. Holler. Okay, she said holler. All right. The plan would weaken or eliminate the Department of Education, sending some federal funds, especially Title I funds, that are targeted towards low-income students back to the states. While President Biden has attempted student debt relief, the next president, if Republican, will eliminate those efforts. Now I know for myself, I've had my student loans eliminated, and I know several people who've had hundreds of thousands eliminated under President Biden. Other discretionary funds from the Secretary of Education grant will also cut other projects under 2025. One, Head Start. How many know what a Head Start? My kids went to Head Start. Everybody's kids went to Head Start. Now they want to eliminate it. The Title I monies from the state, Project 2025, calls for eliminating the Office of Head Start, which would lead to the closure of Head Start child care programs that serve about 833,000 young kids. Now, how is he going to eliminate that? He is going to take that money. The Head Start also provides critical funding and resources for other child care programs throughout the state. Next, he's going to talk about women's rights. We don't have any. According to him and the Heritage Foundation, we don't have a right to do anything. We can't wake up and breathe without permission. We can't go to the bathroom without permission. We're women. We don't exist. We can't vote. We can't choose who we can be in love with. We can't choose where we can go to school at, or if we can even go to school. That is their decision. They want to turn us into this, I don't know what country I could even describe this. I know there's some that don't recognize women's rights, but we do in the United States of America. We voted to have our rights. My parents voted to have our rights. We as Democrats voted for these rights, and we're not going to allow them to take them away. We're not going back. All right, now we're talking about civil rights. They want to roll back civil rights protections across multiple fronts, including diversity, equity, and inclusion-related DEI programs, the LGBTQ community. All of their rights to health care, education, and workplaces is going to stop. The next one is very close and dear to my heart. It talks about education and the right to education. When I was born, and I'm not going to say when, but in the winter of my life, I do want my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren to have the opportunity to go to whatever school, to have the best education afforded to them possible. We have to stop alienating our children. We have to stop. One of Project 25's most extreme plans is abolishing the Department of Education, the only federal agency that is mandated to ensure equal opportunity and accountability, and to fund states and school districts for elementary and secondary education. Under the Department of Education, we have an office called the OCR, the Office of Civil Rights. If eliminated, how are we going to protect our children? Our own school district up here already got sued by the Office of Civil Rights. We know the atrocities and the abuses that some of our young black students and Hispanic students had to endure just to get an education. Some of them were eliminated from getting an education. Going forward, we have to protect the rights of our children, especially those of low income and special needs. We have those children that are now disproportionately suspended or expelled from school with no resources or no one else to rely on. So I say to you, it is not I, or it's them. It's not. It's we. And I read this. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to posterity, do ordain and establish that we are for democracy. And we, the people, are excited to support Kamala Harris and Tim Walz as our next President and Vice President of the United States. And we all know, when we fight, we do what? We win. We will not go back. We will not go back. We will not go back. Thank you.
Woo! That's right, we're not going back. Before I present the next person, I just wanted to recognize Ricardo Ortega. He is running for Assembly 34. Thank you. Our next speaker, I'm going to lose my voice, is close to my heart. Ladies and gentlemen, California Democratic Party Veterans Caucus Chair, Basil Kimbrew.
Okay. Now, I told Ms. Harris, AKA, and I got two AK sisters over here. My guys called me from the veterans from back east and said, hey, are you too old to do what you did in college? And I said, I used to be a stepper, if y'all know what a stepper is, right? And so I told them I'm 71, but I'll try. But if I fall when I try to do a certain move, y'all just come pick me up. Because veterans get up. So in order to me to represent her, first I got to put on my alpha, because I'm A5A. I got to put this on. And then I got to put my alpha shirt on, because I'm an alpha from college. And then, you see I got my Army shoes, and I got my Army gloves, but I'm the only one in California that has a Stetson right here. Stetson right here. So, I'm going to do a chant dedicated to, is the camera dedicated to you, Mrs. Harris and Tim, the Lieutenant Governor, California, Elaine. There's a lot of people watching. We're streaming not just from California, but 10 different people across the state are streaming from this stream. And so I'm gonna try not to embarrass myself, but this is what I did in college. Because she is my sister. I'm an Alpha Phi Alpha, and she's AKA. So I don't know if my legs are gonna hold up, but I'm gonna try. Okay. Some men pledge Kappas. See, y'all didn't know I could sing. Some pledge Q Sci-Fi. But Chef Basil, chair of the California Democratic Party, salutes Kamala Harris. But I pledge Alpha Phi Alpha. I'll be an alpha man until the day I die. Zoom, zoom, zoom. my brother. I love my black and gold. Who? I got the fever down in my body. The fever down in my soul. That alpha fever. Zoom, zoom, zoom. My brother. I'm kind of slow. Love my black and gold. I got the fever down in my favor. The fever of black and gold, that alpha fever. Zoom, zoom, zoom. My sisters, I love my pink and green. Pink and green stands for AKA. I got the fever, but I love my deltas too now. But I got the fever down in my body. The fever of Kamala Harris, that alpha fever. Zoom, 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 my body. I love that black and gold. Then folks do this. I got the fever down in my body. The fever of pink and green. Now here's the catch. I'm gonna try to do it so I don't fall. That alpha fever. Huh! 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 Wait a minute. Hold on. I forgot my asthma spray.
And you use Janice to speak.
Okay. See, I got so excited. I gotta catch my breath. I'm 71 years old. Y'all give me a break. Okay. Now, next I'm gonna introduce to you one of my sisters, who's AKA, hold on for a second, I really gotta hold on, y'all gotta wait. Okay, next I'm gonna introduce to you one of my sisters that's with the AKA, because you know, Kamala's AKA and she's a pearl. So, I don't know, if you look on some of these, you'll see pearls, if you look on some of these. And so it's my honor to introduce to you who's gonna say good things about, well, first of all, I gotta put this, they're not political, but she can talk about AKAs and the next president of the United States, Kamala Harris, who's an AKA. Janice. Ooh, baby, I almost fell. No, I'm good.
Thank you. Good evening again. As Basil said, we are definitely a nonpartisan organization. And I serve as vice president of the chapter here in the High Desert. We were actually established in June of this year. And so we're just really excited to see the momentum that is taking place across not only the High Desert, but the momentum that's taking place all over the world. Prior to coming today, I understand that she raised close to $400 million just last month. And so what we need to do is make sure that we continue that momentum. We know that it's not just about talking to people about the issues. It's also about getting people to get out to vote. And one of the things that we've been doing here in the High Desert for probably the last year is registering voters and talking to them about why it's important to vote. And a lot of the people that we've come in contact with have said that they don't need to vote, they don't understand why, I've never voted before. So we really need to make sure that everybody that we talk to understands why they need to vote. They need to vote not only for themselves, but also for future generations. So one of the questions that we've been asking people is, why are you voting? Or why are you participating in this process? And I will tell you that my grandparents never had an opportunity to vote. They passed away early on. My grandfather died at 35 years old. He never got to 1964 where he could actually do the voting. And so when I think about my grandparents, my mother who told me that we would never have an African American person as president of the United States, it was impossible. And thank God she lived long enough to see President Barack Obama, and she would be amazingly thrilled to see what's going on right now. So I know that there are a lot of people in the High Desert that are not educated about politics, a lot of people that don't understand why we need to do the things that we need to do. but part of our responsibility as people who live in this community and people around the state of California is to really get out and tell people the why, what's in it for them. So on your tables, I did put some business cards that you all can take with you if you need more. I have more. And it's basically just something you can hand to somebody to say, hey, are you registered to vote? And if they say yes, thank you, make sure that you meet the election. But if they say, no, I'm not registered to vote, one of the things you can do is just pass the card on. It doesn't have any information other than what they need to do to get registered to vote and to exercise their right for our democracy, for our future, for our children's future, and for our children's future. So I just want to thank everybody for the opportunity. Really glad that everybody came out this evening. Let's go and let's make sure that we celebrate democracy and celebrate our freedoms. Thank you.
You know, I introduced everybody that was running as a candidate, but I forgot about myself. I am running for the chair of the NAACP branch 1082, and I will be the first woman to be the chair and the president. All right. Oh yeah, I'll be the first Hispanic too. Okay, so we're wrapping this up. Election involvement. So where do we go from here? What do? We have so many organizations here tonight. They have plans, canvassing, texting, calling. These candidates are here tonight. Raise your hand, candidates. That's right. Let's make our high desert make a record with higher voter turnout. Talk with your family, your friends, your neighbors. Seek out undecided and low registered voters. Get involved. The Victor Valley Democratic Club will be having a volunteer reception for those that volunteer with our local candidates on GOTV Saturday, November 2nd. If you are a member of Victor Valley Democratic Party, raise your hand. There you go. There you go. Thank you. I would like to thank our Pancho Villa. They did an excellent job with the food. Their staff was great. I'd like to thank our media and photographer, Dennis and his crew, Elevated Studios, by Brian and Tracy at the reception desk, and of course, our guests. Thank you. Everybody have a good evening, be safe, and I'll see you real soon, you guys, because next year we're doing 2 more people outstanding. See you then. Bye.